Welcome and welcome back to Triple S Reviews. Today we're point by point reviewing and breaking down episode 4 of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Spoilers ahead, let's begin. Point number 1, looking around online, I've seen people say these satellites remind them of the satellites used in Operation Cinder, an operation set up by Sidious so that in the event of his death, climate-controlling satellites will target both Empire and Rebel planets, destroying them all via severe weather, as punishment for the Empire for letting him die and for the Rebels for killing him. I've also seen people wondering if these satellites could somehow be at Akron's version of a barrier. While I agree they do look similar to Operation Cinder satellites, I disagree about them being at Akron's barrier. This planet's barrier is the same as at Atin's barrier, a nebula, and you can tell the planet's in a nebula due to the coloured hue of space around the planet, and the fact it was one of Kim's search parameters when trying to find at Atin. This makes me wonder if all the jewels are located in nebulas and that's why they're all so hard to find. Point number 2.
Do you think maybe we fell asleep for 100 years like the Tales of the Night?
Was anyone else at first thinking along the same kind of lines as Wim that some weird time shenanigans were going on? Like a reverse Interstellar type situation where every hour away from at Atin equates to 7 years passing on the planet. Point number 3, they just had to sneak in another Star Wars holiday special circus performance reference, didn't they? Point number 4,
At Akron been playing tricks on me memory circuits.
33 saying being on at Akron is playing tricks on his memory circuits might be an explanation as to why he didn't mention at Akron when he was listing out planets to Fern in episode 2. Being back on the planet has jogged his memory of the planet. Point number 5, if you're enjoying the video so far, give it a like to let me know, and if you're interested in seeing more, then make sure to subscribe. Point number 6, did anyone else think it was a bit goofy the way 33 was twitching all over the place during this scene? He's just all jerky out of nowhere, like he's obviously being controlled like a puppet, whereas before he was pretty rigid in his movements. Also, the creature inside his head must have done some damage, since after it jump scares Jod, smoke just starts pouring out of 33. The jump scare and the smoke happening as 33 appear to be remembering at Atin might just be a coincidence, or maybe that little creature is more intelligent than we think and is part of making sure 33 doesn't remember at Atin. Like, could you imagine if it turns out that creature is 33's old captain or something? Probably not, but would be insane if true. Point number 7, anyone else get the feeling the identity of this statue might become important later on? Like, why else would the writers make it so its head is missing if not to make us wonder who it is a statue of? And why make us wonder who it is a statue of if it isn't someone important to the story? Point number 8, something's definitely up with the way KB's been acting. Since leaving at Atin, she seems to be becoming more emotionless and odd. She doesn't react at all when the statue gets blasted and then just tilts her head and stares at it, which could be just her being emotionless and odd or her somehow recognizing the statue. I think it could be read either way. And then later Wim goes to high-five her and she seems confused by this right after blasting all her targets like she's a living aimbot. Maybe it has something to do with the medical condition that her mum's mentioned in the previous episode, or maybe it could be due to her cybernetic attachments. If it is indeed like the one worn by Lobot, which can often erase someone's personality, as I mentioned in my previous video. Actually, for all we know, her medical condition and her cybernetic attachment could be one and the same. Point number 9, speaking of KB seemingly becoming emotionless, what organ of the human body is most associated with emotions? Well, the heart, of course, so you could say KB is becoming heartless. This episode focuses on the fact that Neil is a bit of a coward. He has no courage. Wim does things without really thinking it through first. He's pretty brainless. And Fern is the captain, the leader of the group, trying to figure out how to get them all back home. There's no place like it after all, except at Akron with its identical buildings, and presumably all the other jewels as well, but ignoring that, each of the kids match up with the main hero characters of The Wizard of Oz. Fern is Dorothy, Wim is the Scarecrow, Neil is the Cowardly Lion, and KB is the Tin Man. Some see the supervisor of at Atin as being the great and powerful and mysterious wizard, but I have seen others suggest that Jod fits the role. He was great when he was a pirate captain, he's powerful in that he's force sensitive, and he's definitely mysterious since we don't really know that much about him. Other than that, he's also lost and alone, just like the kids, which also connects him to the wizard, who just like Dorothy isn't originally from Oz. And 33 years Toto or something. Or TikTok from Return to Oz, since you know they're both mechanical men and pretty good at hand-to-hand combat. Point number 10. Wait, is Haina French? I thought only Twi'leks could be French. Maybe a distant ancestor of hers came from Ryloth, the only French planet in all of Star Wars. Point number 11.
Are you guys like an army of kids battling the adults for control over the planet?
Wim would be such a fan of Peter Pan, Codename Kids Next Door, and Jedi Apprentice, The Defenders of the Dead. Point number 12. I love Haina's unnecessary slides and flips. It's something a kid would do just to show off. Plus, she's French and we all know how they all love their parkour. Some think it's making fun of unnecessary spins in other Star Wars media, like that one guy in Book of Boba Fett. And when you consider this episode was directed by David Kwan and David Scheinert, the guys who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once, then yeah, Haina doing unnecessary stunts does kinda make sense. Point number 13. Oh hey, is that Matthew Kassovitz? If you've got no idea who that is, if you've ever seen Amelie or The Fifth Element, then you've seen Matthew Kassovitz. Point number 14.
Sadly, we do not concern ourselves with off-worlders beyond trading hides for ammunition.
So despite being one of the hidden worlds of the Jewels of the Old Republic, off-world visitors to At Akron is apparently a regular thing. Presumably, after its discovery long ago, its location became common knowledge enough for trade to become a thing, which explains why we see both Troik and Hatan wearing helmets very similar to those that were used by the Empire. I wonder as well, did this planet end up like this after being found and destroyed like Kim says all the jewels were? Or did it become an ashy waste due to the ongoing war between the Troik and the Hatan? Point number 15. What kind of school has a big ass fucking gun built onto its roof? And since all the buildings on this planet are seemingly identical to those on At Atin, does that mean the school on At Atin also has a big ass fucking gun built onto its roof as well? Is this going to end up being a literal Chekhov's gun? Point number 16.
Captain Fern and her crew will honor us by leading us into battle.
This really goes to show just how much of an asshole Strix is. He might have been serious in saying on At Akron they treat kids like adults, but I doubt they give adults only a few hours trying to shoot targets, then make them take point as they march into enemy territory and then order them to scout ahead blindly. Like, I get he allows Haina to go with them, but he probably only did it because she essentially demanded, and I'm willing to bet she's actually had proper training, not just a few hours trying to shoot tin cans. Also, later we see the journey to the supervisor's tower isn't even that dangerous or difficult, which just shows Strix was lying about that as well to manipulate the kids. Seriously, what an arsehole. Point number 17. So not only do the Troik and Hatan use Empire-looking helmets, but this guy has a visor that reminds me a lot of the eye portion of Kylo Ren's helmet. So is this visor from the Empire as well? Is this what Kylo Ren bases the eye portion of his helmet design on? Point number 18. It'd be interesting if it turned out Wim still has the same number of credits as he did before, and it turns out Jod got the EOPs a different way, either by being a pirate or by being a Force user. I don't agree with the theory though that Jod pulled an Anakin and killed all the Hatans, unless he's somehow more powerful in the Force than he's letting on, and he's more in the camp of the dark side than the light. Point number 19. Jod must have bought back the Onyx Cinder as well, because I can't imagine the Hatans not trying to claim it for their own. I don't want another Bestoon legacy left untouched on the planet Pasana for years situation again. Point number 20. Seeing the inside of the supervisor's room for the first time, my initial thought was, that big mechanical looking thing hanging from the ceiling is the supervisor, like it's a big old computer or droid brain or something. Anyone else have that thought? Point number 21. Ah, so this supervisor tower has pillars with coordinates to the other jewels, but the ones to At Atin have been destroyed, which means the next course for the kids to set is to head to the supervisor tower on any of the other jewels, and find out the coordinates to At Atin from the pillars there. Presuming, of course, At Akron isn't just a one-off on having identical buildings to At Atin, and that the coordinates haven't been destroyed on all the other jewels by 33 as well, which would take time granted and could prove difficult if the other towers happen to be still inhabited, but someone willing to murder to hide the location of their treasure, I think wouldn't mind putting in the time to also destroy the coordinates on all the towers as well, just to be extra sure no one finds Atin. Point number 22, just like with answering why didn't Jod escape from the brig earlier and if Jod and Silvo are the same person, the question of does 33 actually remember Atin but has been ordered not to has been answered pretty quickly. It's not been needlessly dragged out, which again I appreciate since it didn't need to be. Though I guess when 33 was ordered to forget about Atin, his memories of the planet weren't actually deleted but were just locked away. This could either be a bit of an oversight by 33's previous captain, or it was intentional so that if anyone did get him to remember, he'd then tear them limb from limb. A trap for those looking for the treasure, just as Captain Flint in Treasure Planet laid a trap for those who found his treasure. Point number 23, and speaking of Captain Flint, the original character from Treasure Island, he murdered all of his crew members who helped him bury his treasure, just like how 33's former captain murdered any of his crew who saw the coordinates to Atin. Point number 24, I love these perspective shots that make it seem like 33 is towering over us just like how he's towering over the kids. It makes him feel even more menacing. To round all this off, my most disliked part of the episode goes to the way Strix treats the kids, acting like he respects them when in reality, he just wanted to use them as cannon fodder. What an arsehole. And my most liked part of the episode goes to Neil. Did you actually think I was going to go this whole review without talking about this absolute ray of sunshine? I love everything to do with him in this whole episode. Him giving his food to the hungry kids, his conversations with Hayner, him walking out in front of his friends when they're forced to scout ahead, him throwing a rock at 33 to stop him from tearing the other kids limb from limb, showing that even if he thinks he is a coward, that he thinks he's weak, he actually can be brave and tough when he needs to be. From what I've seen online, Neil became everyone's favourite character after this episode, and that doesn't surprise me. I mean, look at him. You just want to pinch his cheek. He's so cute. Thank you all for watching Triple S Reviews. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like to let me know, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. I also have a variety channel where I post a variety of different videos. If any of them interest you, check them out. I've been Triple S, you've all been amazing, and I shall see you all in the next video.